Such an awesome church. Last Sunday was just so wonderful, and this worship set was just so awesome. When I came back from the Philippines, we went to Idaho and Seattle and like Portland, and I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad or anything. They were awesome churches, but man, I'm glad to be home. I really love our church. We have a healthy church. We have such a good church. The worship sets, you feel the power of God, and all the teaching is so well. I'm just so happy that this is my church. This is just awesome. So like like Eddie said, we're going to the Philippines on Sunday. Actually, we'll already be in the air like during service, and it's going to be quite a little journey. We're going to be going there for like 3 weeks. Peter Boros is coming with us. So that's awesome because he's in Kenya, and also his friend he was in Kenya with, Vasily is his name, this older man and a good welder too. So we got a group of like 18 people that are coming from like Paris, Frankfurt, Seattle, Portland. Plenty of people are coming. In this trip we're going, and we're going to finally finish up, hopefully, the building that we started on this huge ministry building. Right now it's just a warehouse because there's nothing in it. I'll show you pictures soon. But we want to go and finish construction on that and actually like put orphans in there and like start making food out of there and like put doctors in there and put some like beds and make it into a waiting room. Like this was the purpose of the building. It's about 3,000 square feet. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some pictures. So I got lots of pictures to show you guys, but I want to give you an idea. Oh yeah, can we turn off the lights back here maybe? I don't know if it makes a difference or helps. Yeah. All right. So this is Dipolog City is what it's called, and all right, you can see it. I don't know if you can tell, but if you look down in that mess of traffic, there's traffic going straight. There's traffic at the same time trying to turn and across a walkway, and there's two ladies and their child or a child trying to walk through this traffic all at the same time. This is Dipolog City. This is what it's like. There's people on top of people on top of people. Everyone's just living on top of each other. There's no rules. If there's some room, you take your car, you go. If the sidewalk's open, go through it. Sometimes the sidewalk isn't open even for walking because people open restaurant stalls and there's electrical cables hanging in the way. You got to go in the street. Now the car can't come, and it's just madness. This is Dipolog City. This is a taxi in Dipolog City. It's a little motorcycle, and there's just a like carriage welded to it and bolted to it with an extra wheel on the side, and that's your taxi. You don't have actual taxi cars. You just hop in one of those with strangers, and you go around town wherever you gotta go. This is just a food vendor on the side of the street. The people are very friendly. Jackie was coming up taking photos. People would all pose for her and smile for her, and they would just, they're just super warm and friendly people. Even Kostik Antemia, when he was in the mission, he had like a big bag of candy, and it like ripped open and fell out everywhere. And not one of the kids like ran and stole the candy. They all just like waited all like patiently, like what's he doing? They're just very friendly people, very respectful and very nice. This is the lumber mill. This is how people process and cut wood at the lumber mill. They don't have fancy machines and saws. It's literally a guy with a huge chainsaw as tall as he is, and he's just cutting up the boards into big squares. And then the next guy over here just slices it into 2x2, 2x4, 2x3, whatever. None of it's really straight. None of it's really great quality. It's all mahogany, which is super expensive in America, but there it's like nothing. It's just any type of tree. This was basically an opportunity for some money for one of these people out here. This washed up on the shore, and this is like it's like a salad. They make salad out of it. It's a vegetable, basically. It grows in the sea, and it washes on shore, and he collects it and sells it in the city. So, you can make some pocket money if it shows up on shore. I mean, with that money, you'll actually like feed his family and maybe buy a piece of material for his house or something. That's a Romanian. Yeah, the fat black guy is a Romanian, yes. Here's a guy. He's using the leaves of a coconut tree, and he's wrapping it over like a bamboo stick, and like sewing it with like it's almost like that trash bag material made into a string, and he sews it with like a piece of steel, and he makes roof shingles. They're like this big, and it's a roof shingle. It's like a few cents. You could buy a roof shingle. If you save up enough money, you can cover your roof. That's how they make roofs or ceilings in the Philippines. This is unidentified meat. There's no ice. There's no fans. There's a little thing that moves that keeps the flies away. It doesn't really work. And this is the meat market. We go back into the city, and there's like a nice place you could buy some like more packaged meat, and we don't eat this, but this is what people there will eat every day. This is what's sold in the market, and this is what's normal to see there. This is someone cooking in their kitchen. It's just a small wooden tray. They fill it with dirt, and they compact the dirt, and they start a fire on it, and they cook their food. This is a shot of the kitchen from the outside. Yes, that's a kitchen. It's just a few bamboo slats, the coconut leaf roofing, and luckily we gave her an extra piece of sheet metal from the church, and she put up a wall, and that's kind of her kitchen. This is just a picture to show you how beautiful it is. It's beautiful there. There's all this poverty and all these poor people, all these issues, and it's just so beautiful there. There's plenty of resorts and things, but it's crazy to think you can go on resorts here and go to some of the nicest beaches, and there's people living in just these broken down homes. They're living stacked on top of each other. These kids live in this beauty, but they live also in the same poverty. This is up in the mountain, and most of these kids, they got to walk very far to school. And if they didn't eat for the day, they're not going to school. They're too tired. They can't make it anymore. A lot of these children are very poorly taken care of. They have, this one girl is wearing just one big T-shirt. That's her clothing. She doesn't have anything else, just a big T-shirt. And every time we go to the feeding, her legs are always beat up and scratched up and unwashed. And this was a child while on the way to the feeding. That's his shirt. It's one big shirt. That's his outfit. He doesn't have shoes, doesn't have underwear, doesn't have anything else. He's got one big shirt, and that's what he's got to wear. We gave him some candy and some like Snickers bars and stuff, and he ran off. We never saw him again. There's so many people there. The Philippines is the size of Arizona, yet it has over 100 million people. To give you an idea, America has 300 million people. So it's just filled with people. They really took the commandment to go forth and multiply seriously. So this is a village near the city, outskirts of the city, and it was damaged by a fire. All these kids are lining up and smiling, and they're so happy. They're sitting next to a filthy bog of water that just harbors so many insects that carry, so many mosquitoes that carry diseases like dengue, which is, it's like dengue fever. When you get stung by the mosquito, you start to bleed out of your nose, and you have to go to the hospital, and basically like your insides start to like break down molecularly. Basically, like you just break down all your organs. It's just, and they're hanging out there all happy. This is just a photo of the water. Jacqueline took this up close. There's all sorts of mess, all sorts of trash. There's a car tire in there. And people have no other options. They build their house up here. This person luckily had enough money to rebuild his house after a fire. It's simply tin roof and some bamboo panel siding. And he lives right over that nasty bog water. So this is construction. I'm showing you pictures of construction from the church back in November when we first went. I want to show you kind of like, from beginning to end. This was already 3 different separate mission trips that came and constructed. We came only like halfway through the construction. So this was not last November, but the November before that, 2014, when we came out here. And this was what we came to. This was the outside of the church. This was the interior of the church. It's all just cement. It's all just simple brick pillars. There's no windows. There's no railing yet. There's no actual breezeways. There's not even power yet. This is our delivery service for ballast, so we can make mortar. We mix it with the cement, and we could pour cement down and everything. This is the delivery service. You have a water buffalo, and the guy has a wagon. Luckily, he has a wagon. A lot of times they don't even have the wheels on it. They just have the wood hanging out, and they kind of just drag him. They drag all the material on the wood sticks. Here's me welding some railing for the breezeways. You don't actually have windows in the church because it's so hot. You're never going to close the windows. So you just have some kind of railing to keep people out from getting all the sound equipment and all the, stacks of free chairs sitting in the church. And so after, I believe this is around, after the first trip in November, this is where we got to. They put a lot of, they finished the cement on the outside walls. They finished all the railing. They hooked up electrical. They put in windows upstairs. Upstairs is where the missionary housing is. I don't have photos of that, unfortunately, but it's where me and Jacqueline stayed for 3 months. There's basic water and a little shower, and you have some sort of conditions. It's like 1,500 square feet. Basically, you got a lot of room for a group of missionaries to come live there and stay in the village. While they were constructing, they had to stay in tents or stay at a nearby hotel every day, commute in, drive in. And now it's nicer that we get to be there. In the evening, you get to be with the people that you're ministering to. And after we finished construction to a good amount, we had an opening ceremony, all cement, not fully painted, not fully hooked up, everything, but we opened. In the front is just a few cinder blocks and like metal boards that the children sat on. Those were the kids' seats in the front, and plastic injection molded chairs in the back for everyone to sit on. But it was great. The church was packed. Everyone was there. We put up some balloons, had some decoration, and everyone in the group had a testimony to give. And the pastors who came with us, they had sermons to give. And here they are worshiping. The Filipinos got a talent when it comes to worship. I don't know if you've ever been in a church where everyone's jumping in the air, clapping their hands and singing their heart out. That's worship. They have a song where it says to shake your brother's hand. So during the song, everyone's dancing and kind of moving, and they go and shake each other's hands, and it's kind of awkward because you're waiting for the guy, but you're still you don't know what to do, and it doesn't matter. You just go with it. This is the Philippines. But man, when it's time to worship, there's such joy that you feel. There's such joy that you have. It's it's just this different perspective. There's nothing more wonderful than going across the world and seeing people worship and praising God in their own language. It's something magnificent to witness, to see that all the way here after I journeyed, I had layovers, and I waited hours in the airport, and I went thousands of miles over the ocean. Here they are, people on the earth, praising God, praising the same God we praise. It's the most profound feeling ever. This is our pastor. He's a Filipino pastor. He lives there. He went to school, Bible school, 4 years. He's an awesome guy. For people that don't know about missions so much, it's extremely difficult to find reliable people. It's extremely difficult to find even someone to be a pastor who you can trust. There's so many, everything's working against you, But this is a man that we trust. This is a man that has never lied, has never stolen anything to us, has always been straight with us. He's always worked with us well. And, we put him there as pastor. And there's so many things you expect. You expect him to be like this, and you expect him to do a better job and to be more hardworking but I just thank God that he's a good, honest man. He has a wife and children and a family. He loves God, and he's there, and he's diligent. Every Sunday he's there. He opens the church. He runs the service. He has a sermon. He runs the program. He's there, and he could be working, or he could be trying to find work, or he could be trying to do something else for his family, but this is what he does. He knows God will take care of him, and he works for the church. And God, I just hope God blesses him so much. Church service, passing out Bibles. And that's always so important. They don't have such a study culture like we do, or deep theological teaching, or it's so basic, And so you don't want to just throw out so many Bibles out there to everyone. Here, take a Bible, maybe they won't use them. Maybe it'll just sit there and collect dust. Maybe they'll lose it. It'll be trampled underground, and but I go into people's homes and I see their Bible there, and there's one lady, she has this bigger Bible, like the full New and Old Testament, and she has little markings in it, and she has her tabs there and highlighted different parts. And like when I saw that, I was like, this is so awesome. Like she's just studying her Bible on her own at home. It's like the coolest thing. The lady's like 50 years old. It's not like this young teen. It's like this older lady, old in her ways, yet still, seeking God. I'll tell you more about her family later. So this is continued construction. This was in February. We started painting, and inside, no more cement. They put tile flooring, and man, they did a great job. These guys from Detroit. One day they put like 1,500 square feet of tile. It was just awesome. And there's, the finished product looks nice. It's painted. They painted the ceiling. They put the floors in and painted all the walls, and even painted all the little railing I welded and everything. This is the finished product. All the little details, all the little things are all done. It's so wonderful. It's finally done. It took them like 2 years almost. On the trip, me and Jacqueline were there last November. It was 2 years. It was the second anniversary of the church, like starting of the church, deciding we're going to start building a church. There's also 2 bathrooms, 2 showers they built right next to the church. The toilets and the showers, it's all finished up and everything, got nice tile, everything. It's like when you go to the swimming pools, the public swimming pools, and just a big brick box, but hey, it beats what they do. One guy sits, pumps the water, has a bucket, and the other guy just like gets on his knees and he like dumps it on him, and he kind of scrubs himself, and he still has to wear kind of some clothes because you're just outside, and unless you go behind a bush or something, like they're used to that. That's how they do it. And they don't know to have the water pouring down on you from the top, and private closed place, and that's soap. Yeah, they don't have the money for it. Yeah, exactly. Now this is the ministry building. This is like 30 feet from the church door to the actual plot of land right here. We put up framing, all steel, everything. Here's me welding the trusses up. It took days and days of working constantly until sun up, sun down to weld all these trusses, put them all up, put all the different purlins. I don't know what you guys know about construction, but it was a lot of work, but praise God, like we did it just in time. And praise God, on this trip we had, after all the material was spent, after all the food, after everything, the money we came with, we were left with $100. And it was just like perfect, enough for the paint, enough for the nails, enough for the primer, for the welding rods, for just everything, for the ladders we bought, everything. We had $100 left over. Buy some rice and let's go home, buy some rice for the people, let's go home. God provides just how much you need. And we clothed it in corrugated roofing. It's sheet metal. Here it is. This photograph is taken from the upstairs of the church, so you can see how close they are, and bam, finished product. Yeah, it's these guys, once again, in one day, they clothed the whole building in a day. They were just working and working and working.
Same roofing as the church right now.
Yeah? Yes. That's funny. Same roofing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so this is the building we want to go and finish next time. There's like tile flooring, the insulation's there, all the interior walls are put in to have a waiting room and like a clinic area with 2 separate parts. And then there's like a solid wall, and you have your orphanage area, and then there's another solid wall, and you have like the cantina they call it in Romanian, but it's like a kitchen and where we can hold the feedings, because we kind of just do it in the village. And where I showed you that picture where that lady cooked the food with the fire, like she cooks the food for the feedings on the fire in a really big pot, because we don't have any other kitchen equipment. That's it. And so we do it their style, and we feed them out of her house, and they all just line up in front of her house, and and they'll teach her about the Word of God, and they'll teach all the children Bible stories, but it's going to be so wonderful when we can have that kitchen outfitted, and we could actually be serving food in there, teaching the children in a closed place. Like you can have more control, and you could really just do a better job than just cooking food by fire. and serving it out of a poor lady's house, you know. But this is where we're at. The mission is slow. It takes time. Every 3 months, it's only 2 weeks. 2 weeks is not a lot of time. But thank God he's been using so many people. He's been using so many people to just do this work. This is a church service. And when we're here on the big mission trip in the Philippines, we have evangelism services like every evening. We'll bring rice out to people, and we'll have like altar calls and everything. It's more of like, you know, a lot of more impact because you're only staying there like 2 weeks at a time. So God uses this so much to like bring new members to the church. And, you know, they end up staying and they end up giving their life to the Lord, and they end up becoming a part of the church and eventually going through the baptism process and everything. This is a prayer service. We're praying for the sick. And, man, God is just so awesome. These people, they don't know the gospel. They don't know the complexities of like Western civilization. Like I tell them some things about like how we live in America, and they're like, "You're crazy." Like, yeah, right. You take a shower and wash yourself in water that you can drink. That's stupid. You know, for them that's like gold. Like they save that and put it in bottles. That's clean water. You can drink out of it. Why would I wash myself in purified water? You know, and they don't know all of these things, but they're people who, you know, are lost, and they're people who are so burdened, so much more burdened than us. And, you know, sometimes I come to the church services and I'm like, why do you even show up? Why do you even come? Like, there's so many things in your life. Your life is so difficult. Your house is barely even a house. Maybe your spouse left you, or your children are drunks, or maybe you're a drunk yourself. Why do you come to church? You know, why are you here? You know, and it's because Jesus can redeem them. Jesus can change them, because God can give them a hope and a new life, you know. But and just seeing people with their hands up and just praying and tears in their eyes, it's like the craziest thing. It makes me want to be saved like over again, you know what I mean? These are regular church services. This was when everyone was home, and we stayed there for 3 months. We were just having a Cina Domnului, you know, having a communion. Here was I preaching with my miniature translator. Yes. Yeah. Oh, man. People that are short. There's a picture later. Jackie's tall there, too. It's pretty funny. Yeah. But I had to preach so much. Like, you know, I'm the special guest. So the pastor's like, you're preaching every Sunday. All right. I might as well while I'm there. I mean, when I'm gone, it's just going to be him, really. So, you know, I had to really delve down back into the basics of the scripture. What we preach at youth night is like advanced for them. Like, even in Western civilization, we're grown with like basic Christian principles. We live in a Judeo-Christian world. This is not a Judeo-Christian country or world. They don't understand the most basic principles. That for us, it's like common sense. For us, it's just a day-to-day understanding. You really have to start like at scratch. Like you got to start right at the beginning. This is a baptism. The beach looks beautiful in this picture. Thank God the beach was nice when we were dunking everyone for baptism, because usually it's nasty. Usually there's 2 rivers coming in to the ocean right there, so it's very murky. But I don't know, it was so clear you could see like 3 feet down. It was the coolest thing. And it was awesome for the people being baptized. I mean, they had to be fully dunked in the water. I didn't take part in the baptisms. I was just taking photographs, but we had the pastor and the missionary and the different pastors that came with us. They were actually doing the ceremony. And so here starts mine and Jacqueline's trip. This is when we went in September until December. First, we went through the capital city, which is Manila. Let me switch my hands. The capital city of the Philippines is Manila, and now Manila is a much more developed than our city is in the mission in Dipolog. It's still a crazy mess. You still drive on the sidewalks if there's space. There's still people living on top of people. It's some of the worst traffic in the world. Some of the most people congestion in the entire world is here in Manila. But this church we visited was a Church of God church, and I mean, they're like huge. It's the mother church in the Philippines. They have like over 658 churches in the Philippines, and God's using our Church of God brothers to do like a huge revival in the Philippines. It's really cool. This is the church service. Those are like some strings they had on set, and the lights hit it and like fractured out the light and everything. That's 1,000 people, and every Sunday they have 1,000 people, and every Sunday there's 8 services. So there's 8,000 people coming to Sunday service at this church. That's crazy. And there's this church and 3 other sister churches like in the area, like the size of the Sacramento area. And altogether, they make a church body of 12,000 members. That's so cool. God is working. I went there and I went for a prayer service. And they had like all the different department heads, all the different people who are like baptized with the Holy Spirit and who are pastors in the church line up. And they had like 30 people lined up from building to building. And it was just like a prayer service where you go to them and they anoint you with the oil and they pray over you. And I mean, almost like 1,000 people like got prayed over and anointed with oil. Like everybody lined up and had a turn to be prayed over and anointed with oil. It was the coolest thing. It was interesting. You see a lot of people like do that like fall over thing and there's someone to catch them. And I see that like the Western culture. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but I don't know. You're in a whole different culture, a whole different world. And you're like, is this, do they accept it differently? Is that for them to fall over? Is that like not as weird for them as it is for us? And so, going to different countries, all these questions are kind of raised. You get all these different, where is the line drawn, But, God was working and it was really cool. Not everybody like fell over or nobody like forced anyone. I was like watching closely, like, is anyone pushing? Like, no. People were just like, they lost all their power and they just like had to fall over and someone was there to catch them. It was like the coolest thing. And so from Manila, we went to Dipolog. These are our friends in Dipolog. They're members in our church. These are like, she works a government job and he works like here and there. And so they kind of like have more money. They have like a nicer house and they actually have a car. They can afford a car. If you can afford a motorcycle there, that's really nice. If you can afford a car, like you're doing pretty well, They're still, by our standards, still very poor. It's a much lower standard there. But they came and they picked us up from the airport and they took us out to the mission and everything. These are very close friends and contacts out there in Dipolog City. I just spoke with her a few days ago and she connected me to other people. When we arrived, we had a warm welcome. They had a sign for us that says, "Welcome, Joseph and Jacqueline, missionaries," or something like that. This is a village like right next to the airport. So when you land, they just brought us in. They're like, "Hey, let's check out the airport village real quick." All right, sure. And they're all waiting there and like surprised us and everything because they knew we were coming. And like I said, they're very warm people. They're very friendly people. They're very just like loving people, so respectful. They live such simple, such poverty-stricken lives, yet they're always so happy. I'm always surprised by how positive they are and how positive they stay despite how they live. This is like day-to-day things in the church. We built a garden here and we put up a little fence, bamboo fence. I learned how to work with bamboo and everything. Yeah, exactly. Here we are like La Gradina, La Sapa, you know what I mean? The dirt was really hard. We did it like 3 times. And the first row of plants, like 1 tomato caught. And so then we tried okra, and the okra flourished like crazy. That was cool. We're growing this food so we can like use it to supplement the feedings. It's hard to always collect money for feedings, and money comes in this month, next month it doesn't come in. God's always providing, but if we can be self-sufficient, that would be the awesome goal, to grow our own food. And I hope at some point we can like teach them how to build furniture, like make some bamboo furniture, or like harvest mahogany and sell it or something. I don't know. So it could be like self-sustaining. It's always hard collecting money, and then you got to go back there, and then you spend it all because you got to build this, you got to build that. It'd be cool if it was self-sufficient. That's a big prayer request of mine, that this mission we could find opportunity to make this mission self-sufficient. That's really one hope I'm trying to find in this trip, and I hope God will open a door somewhere. This is Jackie washing the clothes by hand, rubbing and rubbing. That's how they do it back there. And she was working hard, constantly washing her clothes and everything, and the skin on her hands and everything was peeling off. And she's like, "What do you do with the skin peeling off? Like how do you guys deal with this?" And they're like, "What are you talking about? It's normal. That's how it is. Your skin peels off your hands." And she's like, "You guys have no medicine, no cure, nothing to."
I started doing it a certain way, and I rubbed the skin off of my knuckles. And they said, "No, do it like this." And then after I did it like that, then it rubbed off of that part. I said, "How do you do it so it doesn't rub up there?" They say it does there too.
There you go. Yeah. They told her a new method to wash the clothes, and it still peels your skin off. And they're like, "Yeah, that's how it is."
It was worse than
Yeah, there you go. I know it's so soft and sensitive here, but this was Jackie working hard and keeping her clothes clean. When the people, usually on the mission trip for 2 weeks, we pay them really well to wash our clothes for us and help us, and that way we're helping them. But when we stayed there 3 months, we felt like we got to do this ourselves. We got to wash the clothes ourselves so they can see us more like equal, not like we live in the mighty tower of the church and the nice building that the white people built, and you guys are lower than us. We wanted to be on the same level with them, and it made a huge difference. Sometimes they would they're so shocked, you're washing the clothes with your own hands like us. And older ladies would come and sit down with Jacqueline, watch her, or they would come and bring their clothes and wash it together and talk about all their issues. And it was a great way that she could minister to the women and all of the family and marital issues that they have, because they're all sitting working together. They open up. That's an important thing on a mission trip. You have to maintain that you have to maintain a sort of privacy. You can't just be all open and everything. You got to have your little privacy, but you can't let there be a separation where you're better than them and they're not as good as you, and they got to work up to your level of Christianity and all of this, because the mentality the Filipino people have, they kind of tend to fall into that place. They're very friendly, they're very nice, they want to impress you, and they know you're the rich white guy, because if you're white you're rich there, and they just want to be really nice to you, so they end up doing everything for you, and it can very easily get into that subservient role. You have to be very wary to treat them like a brother and lift them up and just show them love, show them respect. This young boy is James, and he's selling some fish. This is Jackie's she loves this little boy so much. As much as Jackie loves him, that's how bad he is. This little kid is a little schmecked. He's such a bad little kid. He's the worst kid in the entire village. Every time people come and they see him, and the missionary with the big heart sees him, and he's this bad kid, and he has the tattered clothes, and everyone's mean to him, and they're like, "No, let's take him, let's feed him, let's buy him clothes, let's wash him." And they do that, and they buy him fresh clothes from the city and everything, and then 2 days he takes all his clothes, he sells them, and he puts on his dirty old clothes again, and he just kind of, he's hungry. In his household, even at his young age of 13 years old, he has a bunch of brothers. They have a big fishing boat. And if you want to eat, you got to fish. You got to work too. And yeah, they put him to work. They won't share any food with him. They won't give him anything. He's got to get his own food. So some days it's easier to just sell your own clothes that these nice white people gave you. Buy yourself some food. You could take a break today because it's been hard working on the boat. Or steal, exactly. This little boy, he would always steal money from different people in the village. And one day I saw him, his hand was really fat, one flat and swollen. And we asked him what happened? He's my brother hit me on the hand, with a wooden bota, really hard, We're why? And we figured out that he stole $2. So his brothers punished him, and they said, "Look, don't steal," And they beat his hand. They said, "Next time we're going to burn your hands. If you steal again, we're going to burn your hands." And so we're sitting there one youth service, and I don't know what to preach on, and I was just kind of trying my best. And he comes up to the church like right at the door, but he doesn't come inside, and he's kind of like, he looks sad, he's like by the wall. And we're like, hey, James, come in here. Oh, awesome, James here. Like, let's be a good example to this kid. Come inside. And he takes off his shoes and everything, and he doesn't want to get his dirty shoes in the church. And he comes inside, and he just shows us his hands, his palms. And they were seared. His flesh was coming off of his hands because his brothers had burnt his hands. And, we inquired, and we tried to figure out, like, what happened? Like, why are your hands burned? Did you fall in a fire or something? Like, what's up? And no, his brother said they were going to burn his hands if he stole. And sure enough, he stole. And they took a hot piece of steel, they put it in the fire, they heated it up, and they burned his hands. And he came to the only place he knew. He came to the church. He knew we would help him, So Jackie took him and bandaged him and put the cream on his hands. And every day we have to be after him because bandages are falling off, and he doesn't keep them clean because he doesn't know any better. And you got to like find him through the village. And where's James? Oh, he's at the ocean. We go to the ocean. Where's James? Like, no, he's back over there in the corner of the village. Okay, there's James. And you got to put in, yeah, he's got to be somewhere, And Jackie was like twice a day bandaging him and give him antibiotics because you're going to catch an infection like so quick out there. And within like 10 days, like a week and a half, it was like healed completely. Like, I truly believe it was a miracle. Like, there wasn't marks, there wasn't any issues. His flesh was back on his hands, and his hands were just completely healed. We went into his house and spoke with his family. Jackie was there for that, and she was telling me that, like, her family or the brothers, they didn't care. They're like, they almost laughed about it, that his hands were burned. Like, yeah, they did laugh about it. Yeah, they didn't care. He's a bad kid, and everyone just mistreats him. And, and I learned his mother left them, and their father is like a huge drunkard. He's, he like go walking around the village drunk, kind of seeing like where he could steal a little food from someone's house to eat. Like, it's just a big broken family. All his older brothers struggle with alcoholism and all sorts of issues. And, he grows up in this. This is what he grows up in. And of course he's a bad kid. What else did he learn from these people? Nothing good. So when his hands were burned, he couldn't go fishing. You can't pull up your fishing net when your hands are burned. So he couldn't eat. So, and he didn't want to steal again because he's going to probably get punished again. So, we gave him work. We told him, look, there's all this litter around the church. And, pick up the litter, we'll pay you some money, help us in the yard, help us with this. We'll give him enough money to go buy himself some food. And it was so cool to see that when you put him in a good, positive environment, he was actually, I don't know why I went off, but when you put him in a good and a positive environment, he was actually turning better. He would, like, when we paid him for his money, we gave him his money for his work, he bought a bunch of like oranges that they have there in the Philippines, these like kind of lime orange things, and he like bought them and like shared them with us. He's like, here, you have one and you have one, and like he didn't just keep all the money for himself. He knew to share. He has a good heart, but he's just put in a bad situation. And that's how so many of these people are. And if not one person in that village showed him love, and he was just so wicked because of it. But if, we came there, we showed him some love, we took care of him, and we helped him, and, it changed him. He's slowly turning around, and he's slowly becoming a better and a better kid. The love that God has for us, if we express that to people, it will change. It will impact them. It will make a big difference to them, especially in a place like this, especially for this little child that everyone has problems with him. Yeah. When his hands were burnt, he wasn't even crying. He's such a tough little kid. He wasn't crying that his hands and his flesh was coming off. He just kind of like, you could tell he was in pain, but he didn't want to, be a big baby and cry. But on our last day, Jacqueline was looking for James. Like, where's James? I want to say goodbye to James, And he was really shy, and from far away, he was watching us leave, and he was sitting there sobbing. He was actually crying, and I don't know if it was a lady or his grandma said, oh, don't cry, it's okay, they're going to come back, trying to comfort him a little bit. And he said, They loved me more than you guys ever did. Joe and Jackie, they actually loved me, but you guys never loved me. And it makes such a big impact to somebody's life. You know, thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, this little kid was crying because he actually felt true love. You know, he actually felt someone love him. That's what it means to show the gospel, is to show people love, you know, the love that Jesus had for us, to show it to other people, to be that light. And it's just an awesome testimony. I just want to share that one with you guys. I don't know if this thing died or not. Don't mind my tears. What's up? All right. Technical difficulties. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. My slideshow was like 70 pictures long. It's almost a gigabyte. It was like huge. And they were all like HD photos. That probably didn't help.
The computer froze and had to be restarted.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. Yeah. There you go. There's James and his fish. Yeah, I hope when we go back there, he's there again, and he didn't, God knows what, get lost in the jungle and die or something. Who knows? He's a wild little kid. This is not an abandoned house. This is a fully functioning living house. People live in this house. If you could see in the doorway, there's like this little purple hammock thing. That's a baby's crib, and inside of it is a baby. This is somebody's house. This is where they live. This is not abandoned. This is not damaged by the weather. I mean, it's been damaged by the weather, but it's not like left and forgotten. This houses people, and they live in here, they sleep in here, they eat in here, they have children in here. We saw many houses in the village. This is another house. I mean, it's like 8 feet by 8 feet big. Like, that's your bedroom and your living room and your kitchen and your family room and your dining room and your, I mean, everything. People will build their house out of whatever they can find. Sometimes they save up some money. They can buy a little sheet of plywood. The other wall, though, they don't have any money, so they'll go and buy those roofing shingles. He put it on the side. He used it. I mean, you got to use something to keep the rain out. Use your best creativity. This is what they do. Out of all the houses, this was like I think it was the worst house. The lady is pregnant, 8 months pregnant, and those houses have terrible walls. This house doesn't have any walls at all. It's just tarp. And as she's sleeping, she actually was 8 months pregnant. She got a cold and like a bad, nasty cough because it was raining on her in their own house. I mean, it's like all they have. And the lady was Christian. She's in her church and everything. Very. I caught her like gambling in the village. And like when I first saw that, when I saw her like gambling in the village, I was like a little upset because I bought them some material for their house. And I was like, I don't have enough money to like build them a whole fresh house, but like I'll buy them some material, And they're like, well, what about nails? We don't have money for nails. I'm like, oh my God, you don't have money for nails? Like, this is crazy, But later on, I saw her gambling in the village, and I was so like we helped you, and you are gambling, and it's bad because you saw me and you got up and basically ran away because you shouldn't be gambling. Like, that's wrong. And I was a little upset. I was a little like heartbroken. And I went and I prayed and I opened my Bible, and God spoke to me. God spoke to me a lot through the Bible, like just wherever I opened it. And he made me read the book of Jonah. You ever read the book of Jonah? It's basically a missionary who hates the people he has to go and like do a mission to. He like hates them. They're like the worst people ever to him. And I was a little bit angry on this lady, and I got to minister to him, and I'm like, great, I'm Jonah. Thanks, God. So I read the book of Jonah, and I'm like, it's like 3 pages, not so big, but I read it all, and I couldn't get the end. I'm like, God, what's the end? And God's like, I'll tell you later. I'll reveal it to you later. Come back and read this again. I read it again, and I'm like, I got it. I'm Jonah. You're saying I'm being a jerk. I get it. What's the end mean? Because the end had a point, but I just couldn't grasp it. I'm like, God's like, come read it again later on today, and I'll reveal it to you. And so I come back later, and I read it, and it reveals it to me. And basically, Jonah's sitting on the hill, and after he preached to the people, and, he told them, like, you're all going to die and everything, telling these people that God's, going to have judgment on them. And so they all went and had sackcloth and ashes, and they all repented, and God spared them. And Jonah's like, why'd you spare them? These people are terrible. Why don't you just destroy them, And so he went on a hill to watch the city, and like a vine grew up and like gave him shade, and it was really nice. The shade was good because it was hot. And then God, in one day, took the vine away, took the shade away, and he was so like upset and grieved. And he's like, why did this vine have to go away? he gave me shade. It was so nice. And he basically, God was like, you were upset about a vine that took one day. I made it and it came away. Yet all these people live here with their family and their children, and they're all greater than that vine. I created all of these people. Should I not love them? Should I not want to try and spare them? You know, and it was just like, the entire book ends with like, these people, they don't know their left from their right. And that's like when it clicked for me, like, they don't know their left from the right. It's not like she did it against me. It's not like they're trying to harm me or take advantage. They don't know any better. They don't know the true gospel. They don't know like this life that we can have from the scripture. They don't understand it. They don't know their left from the right. They'll literally throw trash and litter like where they live. They'll, share spoons when they're sick and like bring all this like terrible stuff on themselves because they just don't know any better. And that's why we're there. We're not there because they're good to us or because they're good people or because they're good people in hard times. We got to help them. Like most of the poverty in their country and in many of these impoverished countries, it's, they don't have good work ethic. They don't have good principles that they live by. But that's not why we're there. We're not there because, they're such good people and we got to help them. We're there because God commanded us to. And we're there because we love them despite anything, despite them being like this or them being like that. We're there to show them the actual way to living a good, a prosperous life, a blessed life with the Lord. That's what we're there to show them. And so God put it on my heart to work on building them a full house. Instead of just giving them some material and okay, leave me alone. I was like, let's build you a house. We put cement flooring. We extended it and everything. We clothed it all in bamboo. We used totally natural materials. I asked him do you want sheet metal roofing? He's like, no, it's way too hot with sheet metal roofing. Use the coconut leaf. I'm like, all right, I'll get you some good coconut leaf, the best I can. And we built it by their standards and in their style, using their materials. I didn't want to come and try to change everything. I just wanted to use what they had there, and $400 made a house for them. And our church actually helped a lot with this because, we just had enough money for a sponsorship. To build anything was money my parents were sending us. And the money our parents were sending us, more than half of it came from people in our church. $100 here, $200 here, $300 here. Different people in our church, brothers and sisters, donating to the mission, saying, hey, Joe and Jackie's in the Philippines. I got $100 for them. I got $200 for them. And, this is what we did with it. We built people's house. We bought people medicine. We did anything we could. God, it was so cool. I was in the middle of construction on another house, and I didn't have the money to finish. And my parents were like, "Hey, we got some more money." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's finish building that house." God just totally provides always. This is just one house. It's just a model house. My hope and dream is to have a subdivision and build hundreds of houses. If it's $400 a house, it's let's say $500 and you make it a little bit nicer and you add a toilet and stuff. That's awesome. $500 a house. I mean, you could bless an entire family for $500. And imagine if you can do 100 houses, you could change entire villages, all in the name of the Lord. This would be a huge testimony. And here's the finished house. We're taking a picture with them. I told you they were short. Jackie's taller than even the husband. We painted the house green. They love bright colors, so we painted it to protect, keep it waterproofed is really the purpose of the paint, not just color. They didn't know that. They thought it just looks nice. I'm like, no, this is going to protect your house from water damage.
You can tell that they appreciated the house because they started putting greenery in front of it.
Exactly, yeah. They put greenery and they started doing some landscaping, and plants just grow there. You just put some cutoffs into the sand and it grows. It's crazy. Everything just thrives there, especially bacteria and infections too. So that comes together, yeah, hand in hand. This is right by the airport. Actually, in this view is where the plane lands. That's the runway to the airport of Dipolog City, and right there is the poorest village in the entire city. I wasn't here to see the building in this stage, but my friend and partner Constantine, he came here and they said, hey, let's check out this road. Let's go down here. What's down here? And they come down and they see this like half-finished building and these children learning and studying out in the sun. And they're just like, where's their classroom? They don't have a classroom. They're like, this was it. But some wind came and ruined it. And like the government told us, hey, remove all the wreckage so it doesn't fall and kill somebody. But they didn't help them build it and, restore it. So Costiga saw that and his heart broke. There's like 200 kids like sitting out in the sun studying, trying to learn. And we're like, look, how much is it going to be to build this? And they're like, I don't know, like $1,000 or something. It didn't even cost that much in the end. It was so cheap to finish it. I mean, it's halfway built already. And so when we came for construction, all the teachers prepared all the children to make little Romanian flags and to make a huge banner that says, welcome Romanian missionaries. And they all just came out screaming and waving their flags. And they were like so happy that we were there to like come and build them a classroom. They were just overjoyed. It's the coolest thing to have like a small audience of these cute little children running at you with these flags. And they all just want to like 100 kids want to take photos with you at once. Like, how do you do that? Oh, man, it's awesome. But yeah, there's the finished product. We have grills so people can't get in and steal the chairs and the tables in the classroom. Did I put one of the... Yeah, there you go. There's the interior of the church. It's all painted and finished. There's tile flooring. In like 3 days, they...
Church or school?
School, I'm sorry. And they put tile flooring. They did the roofing, all the trusses, everything in like 3 days. These guys from Idaho did it. The Manjak family. They have a family up in Idaho, and they came out with us. And man, they worked hard. They did an awesome job, and they really blessed this place. But the cool thing is, Constantine said, look, we'll finish building your school for you under one condition. Every like Wednesday or once a week, we have to have a feeding here. We have to feed all of these children. But first, we have to teach them about the Bible. We have to teach them scripture. And the guy was like, oh, thank God we're praying for someone like you. He was so happy. They were Christian, and they're like, yes, please, we would love this. So, once a week, there you go. There's a feeding. They set out all the kids. This trip we came to like investigate every feeding. So we stopped by here, and usually there's Filipino like pastors in a Filipino church that works with us, running the feedings. We finance it. They feed all these children. They prepare the food, and they just do an awesome job. They sing with the children. They teach them Bible verses. They have them do like skits and plays and everything, and then they feed them all. Here are all the kids eating. I have a close-up picture. Yeah, there you go. Man, I've never seen one kid like not finish his food, and I've never seen one kid be like, "Oh, I'm so full, like I'm all right." No, it doesn't exist out there. This plate they get of food is as much as they usually eat in an entire day if they're lucky. I went into someone's house before, and he had like, a regular plate of food. And like he came in, and there was one sardine on, and he ate half of it, and he took a few handfuls of rice, and all right, we're ready to go. You wanted him to come and have a snack real quick, And that's like, that was set out this morning, and by evening it will slowly be consumed and be finished by him, by his dad, by his sister. They'll all kind of share it. And that's kind of the food condition there. So this one meal a week is like a huge blessing, and it's a huge opportunity for us to preach the gospel, teach the children, but it's a huge opportunity also because the entire village comes there and sits and watches, all the adults and everyone. They come there and they sit and they watch and they listen, and they're just like, why are you here feeding these people for nothing? People were really touched. The people serving the food, do I have a photo of them? The people serving the food up there, preparing it and handing it out, there were people in the village that were so touched by the work that we're doing. They're like, this is crazy. We're not Christian, but why are you here? Why are you feeding these people? Why are you helping us? Why did you build a school for us? And it's like, did you ever hear about Jesus? And they're like, who? And they're like, Mary's son, because it's a Catholic nation. They know Mary. They know all the saints. They don't know Jesus. And it's like, do you know Mary's son? Like, he died for our sins, and because of that, we're here. We love you, And like, they were so touched by it that like about 12 people in the village served the food, and they came and every day for service, every day for feeding, they have a service together, a prayer service, and soon a lot of them want to be baptized in water and want to join our church, and like they found Jesus through this work that we did towards the children, even they saw it. I mean, when you do something out of the love of God, it speaks and it shows. It's like a bright light. It shines out. Everyone sees it, you know. I loved visiting the young church. Nothing's cooler than a young church, people meeting in a room that want to hear about God. That's the coolest thing ever. And here's the children, me and Jackie with the children. They love to take photos. This is one of like 1,000 photos with the children. I selected this one to show you guys. Yeah, here's the ladies serving the food. It's so awesome. God's changing their life through this ministry. This is the feeding back in the village that we do out of the ladies' house. Hopefully we can move it to the church finally. Mine and Jacqueline's job is we were there. We had to stay at all the feedings and visit all the feedings. So here's Jacqueline playing with the children. This is a feeding up in the mountains. And this lady here is the lady that does it. This is her house. This is her kitchen. And she opens up her house and serves and works and, you know, just out of the love of her heart. I mean, you see how she lives, as if she's not busy enough, but she has so much love in her heart that she's willing to sit here and cook and prepare food for these children like 3 times a week. This is a feeding like 300 kilometers away from the city we land in. We went 3 hours by motorcycle. This is one of 5 feedings done in this zone, and this is in the school. The school literally takes a break. All the teachers come out, and they have all the kids come out and sit down and learn the scripture, learn the word of God, and receive a plate of food. I mean, that's awesome that it's in the school system. It's even cooler because this is in the Muslim territory. So the churches start to disappear and the mosques start to come up. We stayed here one day. We didn't feel safe to stay any more than a day. We slept one night. We got up in the morning. We rode back on the motorcycle. If you go deeper and deeper, they say don't go there because you can risk abduction or robbery or theft or just being generally endangered in your life. But we have Filipino pastors in place. They prepare the food. Other ladies do the teaching, and they do such an awesome job. There's like 5 in the Muslim area in total. Each one has like 200 children. They're the kids eating. In total, I think we're feeding like, what was it, Jacqueline? 6,000 plates of food a month. That's pretty awesome. 1,500 plates of food every week. It's super cool. And here we are this was the last church service we had before we left. It was like the 2nd anniversary, 2 years since the church finally started construction, not since it opened. 1 year since it opened. But the church is the people, it's not the building. One thing I wanted to do, instead of having like a 2nd anniversary celebration, and instead of 2 hours of service, you now get 4 hours of service, and that's it. I said, you know what, let's feed everyone, but we're not just going to do it. We're going to have the people in the church prepare their food and clean it. And like, I'll just organize it, I'll finance it. Well, other people's money came in and financed it, but you know, I want people in this village to have like fellowship together, to work together, and to, you know, like a church should. We should all work together and eat together and cook together and worship together and learn the word together. And, you know, that's just what happened. People came up, they worked together. People were serving food. Here we have an altar call at the very end of the service of praying for the sick. It was so cool after being there 3 months to see people change from not caring at all to like wanting to be a part of this church, seeing that something's happening here, there's a movement, there's something going on, and like they want to be a part of it. It's crazy to see people who have so many difficulties in their life, but they're like, yeah, I'll come, I'll help you cut some carrots. And like, it was cool to see them show that love back. I know like my job was like done there when I saw that. So that was our trip to the Philippines, and that's about everything. I hope I'm not boring you guys and putting you guys to sleep. I don't have a full-on sermon to give you. I just want to share with you a few things that God like taught me on the mission trip, a few things that God revealed to me, you know, going to different parts of the world and like seeing how people live. Here, let me just open up my notes. In Proverbs 1:10-11, it says, "My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, 'Come with us,' let us lie in wait to shed blood. Let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause." You I always read things like this in Proverbs and the Psalms and like all these like crazy things that like wicked people want to do. And I think to myself, who does this? Who does that? Who wants to lurk secretly in the dark for the innocent without cause? Like, who wants to do that? I look around us in our world today and in America and our developed Western world, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's, everyone's pretty nice. Life's pretty easy. I mean, people don't even cut you in line at the grocery store. It's pretty, everything goes pretty well. I was watching a Ravi Zacharias video, and a young man asks, why would people be bad? Like, why do we need a book to teach us how to not be bad? Like, he was asking Ravi Zacharias the question, and he wasn't Christian. And he said, look, if you take away God's law and everything, people aren't just going to start raping and pillaging each other and killing each other for no reason, And the question at the end of the day comes down, are we inherently good or evil? Are we born good or are we born evil? That's basically the question he's trying to answer. And as his point of view, he thinks everyone's good. I mean, he looks around himself and he sees, hey, everyone's pretty good. If someone cuts you off in traffic, that's like, whoa, if someone cuts you in line at a grocery store, that's like, whoa, And before I was Christian, I had the same question. Why do we need the Bible? Why do we need these scriptures? Like, why aren't people good enough already? Who's going to lurk secretly in the dark for the innocent without cause, waiting to shed blood? That just sounds crazy. In going out to the other side of the world and going to heathen cultures, and I don't mean that offensively, I mean heathen as in non-Christian cultures, I realize like our country and any Western country is doing so well because it's been founded on the scriptures. It's been founded on the scriptures, and people want to deny that, this and that, but you have to realize America is a Judeo-Christian country. Europe, in Western Europe, it's based on Judeo-Christian beliefs. If you look at Proverbs 12:11, it says, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense. That relates to today easy. Proverbs 24:33 through 34 says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. When we're in the Philippines and we're working with people and we're paying people double what they make like $5 a day, but we're paying them like almost $10, $8 to $10 a day to like work with us and dig trenches and just do anything, general work. We can't pay them on a Wednesday because if we pay them on a Wednesday, they won't come to work until next Monday. We got to pay them like on Saturday after work's done. Sunday's a break. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're living in deep poverty. You have huge issues. You have like no money, like to barely even feed your family. And here are white people with an opportunity to give you double what you can find. I mean, to find a job is hard enough, but to find a job that pays double what a skilled craftsman makes for just digging some ditches, why wouldn't you do everything you can? Why wouldn't you try to work so hard to impress us that we would each want to give you $10 each? But that's not their mentality. Their mentality is, well, I'm tired. A little sleep, a little slumber, and poverty will come on you like a thief. And it's that same question. Then why should we go there and help them? Well, because we love them despite that. They don't know their left from their right. They don't know better. I realize that those basic principles, they're not common sense. Here it is in America and in Western Europe and countries like Australia, it's common sense because they're based off of the scripture. They're based off of things like in Proverbs, but in their country, they don't have the Holy Scriptures to live and base their life off of. For them, work ethic is not a standard. Work ethic is not expected. It's not common sense. If you don't show up to work enough, you will be fired. We all know that. That's like, duh, not for them. It's not like that for them. If you go in the cities where people are making money, they do work at that standard, to that same standard that the Bible speaks about. And so it brings prosperity and it brings blessings. Everything that all the good proverbs we follow that bring prosperity, it's not that it was just made up by somebody. It was first written in the scriptures. And so this young man is asking that question to Ravi Zacharias, why do we need a book of rules to help us live well and to help us be like good people? It doesn't make any sense. Everyone around me looks good. And I just think to myself, like, man, you've never left your bubble. You've never left your bubble and realized and went out into the world and saw like deep poverty. You've never seen like atrocity in people's life. You've never seen like, it's so hard where we are in the Philippines to find a family that is still together, that the husband is an alcoholic and beats his family, that the mother hasn't left to Kuwait to find work and never returned after 10 years, and the children are on the streets. Like, it's so hard to find a family that's just together, because that's a Christian value. We value family. But in culture is not based on the scripture. They don't value the family. And you have to understand, going across the world, it opened my mind to understand that out of all the Judeo-Christian countries, it's like 2 billion people. And these are rough numbers I added together doing some research. And the other 5 billion are not Judeo-Christian countries. And that's 7 billion in total. That's the population. Just China and India alone has 2.5 billion people living in it. Just China and India living alone, don't mind all of Africa. And then all of the Eurasian steppe, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and all those random countries, Mongolia, all those random countries just right in between everything. And I realized, like, us in our Judeo-Christian mentality, we're like a little speck compared to like the rest of the world. And when I read scriptures like, oh, this world is exceedingly evil and people are so wicked, I'm like, I look around myself, I say like, not really, like everything's kind of okay. There's terrible things that happen too, but people are kind of nice to each other. And it's like, yeah, I can go on the other side of the world. The rest of this world is made up of people living chaotic, difficult lives because they do not have biblical principles to give them direction. These scriptures, they give us direction. It's not just a rule book. It gives us direction to prosperity. And it really opened my eyes to understand that, like not taking it for granted. Like we look at America and we're like, man, America is going down the drain and things are changing, and they are. But coming back to America, this is like the most Christian place in the world. Western Europe they've already legalized same-sex marriage, 10 years ago. That's old news for them. You can go to Amsterdam and buy marijuana. You can possess all sorts of drugs on you. In Germany and in Amsterdam, there's prostitution is legalized and everything. Like America is like the last place, and even America is going down the drain. When I went to Ozamis, there's this city in Philippines called Ozamis. And I went there, and Dipolog I showed you, it's crazy, and there's traffic. Ozamis is even crazier. I was literally in a place where there's meth and drugs running rampant. You can see people on it on the streets. There's big signs telling you to not go to the bathroom in public because it's that much of an issue. Me and Jacqueline saw little children and people just defecating just openly on the sidewalk. Like there is no order. There's nothing to give them direction in their life. They live these crazy, chaotic lives. And that was like thousands, tens of thousands of people, swaths of people living there, traffic like you can't even believe, people driving over each other. We saw a car crash. It was just crazy. And we don't even realize, we're here in our little American bubble, and we don't realize, oh my God, this world is so wicked. God's looking at the whole world. He's not just looking at me and you. He's not just looking at Roseville. He's looking at the whole world. And there truly is so much wickedness in this world. Even we're going to go to Cambodia, and there's sex trafficking there. Mothers will take their own children, have them certified as virgins by the doctor, and get a certificate so they can sell their own children for more money to people who come to these countries just to buy these children and use them like sex slaves. This exists on this world, on this earth. And that's why this place is so wicked. That's why this earth is so wicked. It's just crazy. There's even in the Philippines, there's so much sex trafficking issues and stuff. I don't want to go into everything, and I just want to say we have a responsibility to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth, even here, because there's issues happening here in America, that's for sure. There's atrocities all over the world. In Africa, there's child armies. They'll literally drug up little children and teach them how to hold guns and shoot people. And you can take advantage of children. You can command them and tell them what to do when they're under the influence. And that guy literally had armies of little children with guns to help take over these little defenseless villages. And I mean, that's happening here on our earth, on our world. It doesn't happen here in America, because thank God we were founded on the scripture. But these countries never heard the name of Jesus. These countries don't know what the power of Christ can do. And it all comes down to we got to be passionate. I tell you these awful things, it's not nice to hear about, but it's Leonard Ravenhill says we have to try tears. They say, this is the divine edict. Or it says, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Psalms 126, verse 5. And Leonard Ravenhill says, this is the divine edict. This is more than preaching with zeal. This is more than scholarly exposition. This is more than delivering sermons of exegetical exactitude and homiletical perfection. Such a man, whether preacher or pew dweller, is appalled at the shrinking authority of the church and the present drama of cruelty in the world. And he cringes with sorrow that men turn a deaf ear to the gospel and willingly risk eternal hell in the process. Under this complex burden, his heart is crushed to tears. And our heart has to be crushed to tears. Leonard Ravenhill says we have to try tears. We can't just think about it so logically. We have to try tears. We have to be burdened by this world and its sinfulness. And if we just want to keep ourselves distracted, we'll never realize like the depth of the depravity of the people in this world. And I want to relate this back to America because it's not just terrible in the Philippines. Let me read you this little news story. It says, authorities accused Kalamazoo, Michigan shooter Jason Brian Dalton on Monday with 6 counts of murder, 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder, and 8 firearms violations. He showed no emotion in court as the charges against him were read. A judge denied Dalton bail. For nearly 5 hours Saturday, police say the shooter drove from one target to another, gunning down victims at random. This just happened like 2 weeks ago. And in between the shootings, he apparently picked up passengers for Uber. So when he shot some people, killed some people, picked up some people, drove them, took them to their place, and went around, shot some more people, picked up some more people. I mean, this is what this guy did. As families mourn the deaths of 6 people in Kalamazoo County, one question looms above all else. Why did the gunman do this? I looked over so many articles trying to find out, like, what was his motive? What was his intent? And they can't figure it out, and he himself doesn't even really know. It's just all these random acts of violence happening in the world today, even in a civilized country like America, even like in Western Europe. I mean, this man just went and just shot so many people. He killed like a 16-year-old girl, I believe, and her mother was sitting there clenching her hand as she was like on the deathbed on the gurney to take her away, and the little girl squeezed back, and they knew she had life in her, so they rushed her to the hospital because there might be life. And this man has no motive. These people were shot at random. They weren't enemies of his. They cannot understand why. It's because of evil in this world. It's because of the depravity that people have, the emptiness people have in their heart when they don't have Jesus. Life is meaningless. What's the difference? What's the difference to shoot a person or not? Same with abortions. I learned about second trimester abortion the other day. I saw that thing on YouTube and I was like, I don't know if this is real or not. So I really looked it up and I was like, I was appalled. I literally didn't feel good anymore. 100,000 second trimester abortions happen every year in America. And I mean, the doctor explained it and it's just too much. I mean, they literally just go in and they clean out the baby, and to make sure they got the whole baby, they count the different body parts. Okay, they count, there's a leg, there's an arm. I only got half the skull. Let me go back and get the rest of the skull. And so they can make sure that they literally have taken the life of a precious life out of the very womb, in the safest place ever, a mother's womb. This happens in America 100,000 times a year. That doesn't count the other 900,000 abortions that happen that are earlier, but still taking a life. We have to realize, like, this is what's going on in America. This is what's going on in our world. Our world is a broken place. It is a lost place. And if we try tears, we're going to be passionate to step out there. There's a verse that talks about being the watchman, and God puts us as the watchman to sound the trumpet, to let everyone know that judgment is coming. And God tells us that if we don't sound the trumpet when judgment is coming, those people will be lost in their iniquity, but we will also carry their blood on our head because we knew, but we didn't tell them. We didn't warn them. We didn't show them that love that can transform and change them from this wickedness that deserves judgment. We have to be that watchman. We have to sound that trumpet. We can't sit there and say, I'm afraid. I don't want to bug people. I don't want to make a loud noise on my trumpet. I'm going to bug people, you know. When you see the depravity of the world, when you see how broken some people are, you don't care. You're going to lay hands on them. You're going to pray on them. You don't care. You're going to tell them about Jesus even if you look stupid. Because in reality, they're perishing. The people out there walking around day to day, living their life, they're perishing. They're wicked. They're living in iniquity, and they're perishing. They will perish. And if we don't tell them, and we don't teach them, and we don't show them, they're never going to know, and they're never going to understand. I'm sorry to end it on such a sad note, but that's just what's on my heart. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening and paying attention. I'm sorry I almost put you all asleep with my slideshow. And I was happy to show you guys the Philippines. We have to find a passion in our life. We have to find passion in our life. And, we have to try tears. If we can see the brokenness of people, it will change us. And it will make us just say, who cares? I don't care anymore. I don't care about looking stupid because you're going to perish if I don't show you Jesus. May God bless all of you.
Go ahead and stand. What an important wake-up call and a reminder and a drawing of everything that is happening, just some of the things that are happening worldwide. And I think it's so important to understand that, yeah, we do need to wake up. It's fantastic. I want to invite you guys to bow your heads, and I just want to lift up Joe and Jackie in prayer as they're leaving in 2 days. Father God, we just pray, oh Lord God, for Joseph, for Jacqueline, for Peter, for Constantine, for the rest of the missionary team, God, that's traveling out there. God, be with them on their travels. God, we pray, oh Lord God, that God, you would continue, oh Lord, to just anoint them and anoint the work that they do there. God, keep us vigilant here back at home in prayer for them. God, keep us vigilant, oh Lord God, and aware of what it is that you don't get to just turn an eye from it, Lord. We do, but you don't. Make us aware, O Lord God, as you are aware of all of the brokenness in the world. And God, give us a heart, God, not just for the lost, but for the hurting as well. We pray, God, this in your name, and we just pray, God, that you would continue to stir us up to be able to hear from you. We entrust them in your hands, and in the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you guys. Make his face shine upon you. Also, for everybody who's in the youth board, just